Good evening. How are y'all tonight? It's your man Donald King. Out here still doing the thing. Still got a little congestion going on. So you have to forgive me if I get a little stutter stepped in my speaking as I'm on the verge of coughing, but I choose not to. So, yeah. Anywho, I hope all of y'all are out there doing good tonight. It's your man. Darkness. Darkness. Life is wild, man. There's so much to all of this. There's so much. You know, most of us, we're out here just trying to make it day to day. It's like, with parasites at the top of society putting the squeeze, the financial strangulation on the rest of us. Most people can only focus on what's immediately in front of them. They don't have time to think about things that are meta to their circumstance. You know what I'm saying? Life is wild. It's rough. People who are following this goddamn stupid program, right now, the only thing that they want to do is compete and win. It's what ideologues do. When you don't practice processing information and reality through your own mind and you run on the mode, that compulsion to see the mode through to completion is very strong. And you will have this need, this strong desire to win at all costs. That's when corruption has a stronghold on you. It compels you to compete until you can't compete anymore. So these people who are at the top of society, completely ignorant to what they're doing to themselves in the grand scheme of reality, they are trying to work this mode. They're trying to force it to completion. They're running on autopilot. And as such, they are doing horrific things in the interest of self-benefit. Well, at least what they think will be self-benefit. And in the grand scheme of society, to the detriment of everyone, most notably to their own detriment, because reality does not give a shit about society. Imagine fighting tooth and nail to win a contest that doesn't do anything but get you in trouble for playing. That's the predicament. But if you're thinking like a parasite and not like a person, not like using your mental potential as a human being can, then the only thing you want to do is win, and the only thing that you're comparing your outcome to is how much you have in comparison to those you have deemed yourself morally superior to. You compare yourself to yourself and to those you have advantages over, as opposed to sort of getting a feel for how you are in the grand scheme of reality and the variety of impacts you've made. And yeah, it's a thing. But anywho, yes. By the way, I already know I look rough these days. Your boy has been through it. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted Mostly because, for the most part, y'all will let me carry this burden by myself. Why do you deserve to go to heaven? Why do you deserve to go to heaven? I see all these people out here talking about how they're blessed and highly favored. No, the fuck you're not. You chose corruption. You chose to worship yourself. You chose to side with cowards. You chose to do the laziest and most convenient thing. You have never stopped taking care of you long enough to make a positive impact on reality. You may have made some positive impacts on some social circles, but social circles are not reality. Why do you deserve to go to heaven? Why do you deserve God's love and respect? What good have you actually done in the world? That brings us to tonight's subject. Subject of tonight's podcast, the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan. And it looks like my thing is frozen, but, hey, it is what it is. So, we're going to read Luke 25 to Luke 10:25 through 27, right? Luke 10:25 through 27. I love referencing Jesus because this, of all the religious documents, this is the most accurate breakdown coming from any of the avatars. This is the closest you got. The Tao Te Ching is very close. I mean, Lao Tzu would have taught all the same things that Jesus taught, but Jesus' story, the gospel scriptures, you really don't even need the rest of the Bible. All you need is the gospel scriptures. I mean, the rest of the Bible is useful to some extent, but focus on what Jesus said. Pretty much covers everything else. Anywho, so Luke 10:25 through 37. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in the law? How readest thou? And he answering said, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right. This do, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, And who is my neighbor? And Jesus answering said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked down on him, and passed by him on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him, and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? And he said, He that shewed mercy on him. Then Jesus said unto him, Go and do thou likewise. Go and do thou likewise. A priest, a man who is supposed to be a person, an instrument of God, couldn't be bothered to help someone who was in need. Now, this person, they assume that they are good. It's easy to call yourself good when goodness requires nothing from you. It's kind of like calling yourself blessed and highly favored. Do you deserve favor from God? When you see people out here doing good, are you morally compelled to join in and help? Or do you say, nah, they got it? You know, like most of y'all are just, you're the worst. I see grown people leave shopping carts in the middle of the lot. Just the same people who claim that they are blessed and highly favored by God can't even bother to clean up behind themselves for messes they make. They think they're too important to clean up their own messes. You think you are too important to clean up your own messes. You know what I dislike about Christianity? I won't even say dislike. You know what I hate about Christianity? It's narcissism. It's straight up narcissism. You expect Jesus to come back and clean up all these messes that you've made and contribute to. You haven't done anything to become a better person whatsoever. Beyond surround yourself with people who tell you you're already good for believing the same thing they believe. You've done nothing to improve as a person. Yet you expect all these rewards from God for simply claiming a set, for simply claiming to be on a team. You expect to be rewarded by God for simply claiming to be a thing. You expect someone to show up and to fix all of these problems. You've done nothing to try to positively impact. You want Jesus to show up and fix all your ailments. You've done nothing to try to live a healthy lifestyle. Nothing. You expect Jesus to take away all of your addictions, devices. You've made no effort to positively affect your addiction devices. You expect Jesus to show up and wipe the slate clean of all the debts you've accrued, not just to society, but in reality. And you've done nothing to pay. All you've done is just add to the debt. You're an objectively awful thing. Just narcissistic and entitled. Expecting the OG to show up and fix everything. Take away all the problems you created and did absolutely nothing to try to rectify. Even worse, though, you watched people do good in the world or try to do good, and your dumbass didn't do anything but try to compete. One of the most heartbreaking things I've seen in recent history is how Media did Dave Chappelle, not just media, how the LGBTQ community did Dave Chappelle for speaking the truth. They tried to cancel this man, a person who risked everything to be human and compassionate. They tried to cancel this man for telling the truth. What wretched people. Not everybody in the LGBTQ is wretched. Those people who tried to cancel this particular guy, those special interest groups who tried to weaponize people against him, what wretched life forms. Horrific. Because I know they didn't watch it. I know they didn't try to understand him. I know that they just wanted to compete against someone, just be a goddamn instrument of corruption. Shut truth up. I don't know Dave's full affiliation. I don't know whose hand he had to shake in order to be in the position he's in. I don't really side with any person at an ideological level. But when someone speaks truth, and he seems to be a person who speaks truth on a very consistent basis, if you don't feel morally compelled to recognize them, it's because truth is not within you. They tried to silence him on multiple occasions for simply speaking the truth and being authentic. And now people come to his defense. When he decided that he wasn't going to do his show anymore because, well, he felt he was being used as an instrument to help perpetuate a story that wasn't consistent with the vision he had when he initially set out to create his platform. Someone called him crazy, and the first thing everybody did was jump on the bandwagon and say he was on crack, that he was crazy for going to South Africa. Cowardly ideologues love joining in and tearing people down. What would the Good Samaritan have done in that situation? Did the Good Samaritan, you know what? And that's the funny part about the Good Samaritan, the story. Because the Good Samaritan could have immediately judged this person who was attacked on the side of the road. He could have judged him. Oh, he probably got what he deserved. He could have laughed. He could have mocked. He could have come up with any number of scenarios in his mind to justify why he didn't have to do anything. And before he stepped up and helped, what the story does not tell is possibly the greatest of his virtues, and that is he did not judge. He saw a person in need and he acted. He didn't wait. He didn't try to make agreements with himself about what got that person in the predicament they were in. He saw something needed to be done and he did it. He saw something needed to be done and he did it. That is when the Spirit of God moves within you. That's when reality moves within you. If you're in tune with reality, it is in your nature to create balance wherever you go. Not conditionally, not for people who remind you of yourself, not for people who rep your culture or who are your skin color. You're motivated by balance. You're motivated by reality itself. You see something is off, you step up, you adjust, you fix. Win in where you can. There's a baby over there that doesn't have food, guess what? You figure out how to try and get food to the baby. You see someone who's struggling to do something. You do what you can within reason, obviously. But you're not comfortable just standing by and doing nothing. Everybody thinks they're so fucking important. You worship yourselves till you're blue in the face. To a degree that you think reality is your fucking fanboy. You think reality is your fan. You think reality is your slave. It's going to show up and clean up all the messes you make. Sitting around and worshiping yourself. Trying to prove your value. Trying to prove your value to the audience of onlookers, huh? That's how you think it's going to go. Terrible. It's amazing. It's amazing. Most of you all expect to receive access to heaven. You expect to receive grace from God, and you've done nothing to deserve it. I am literally the person your species refers to as Jesus. I'm not pulling punches. I gain nothing in saying that. It's nothing. If you were actually walking in this path, you would quickly realize it's nothing to brag about. It's not something that even if you were in the situation I'm in right now, you wouldn't even want to be crazy and say this. Like even if you were crazy and you thought that you were, like if you were a person who had a Messiah complex, if you were actually in the situation, you would never want to claim it. You would never want to claim it. It's just heartache and work and hatred, coupled with your own my contempt for the species after how I've been treated, after how I've been disrespected for simply loving people and risking everything and taking on all this fucking work and hurt. Your contempt for the species, like I swear to God, if you were this, you wouldn't want to be. You would hate this species with a passion. I'm not even kind of playing. I'm dead serious. You would hate this species. Passionately. This role is not fun, but it is what it is. It fell in my lap. I didn't ask for it, but I'm here. I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to take it to the thing, but I am what I am. I didn't sign up for it. I didn't want it. I was an atheist. I didn't believe any of this shit was real, but here we are. And the only reason why I even mention that I am, at least in this particular instance, is because you have watched me do good. You've watched me do good. And not my own good. Like, this isn't Donald King being like, oh man, I'm good. I'm doing good. No, I'm translating these things that I see into this language, and I'm able to watch the impact that they make on the world. I've done good because I've been in service to this entity that I'm hosting, and it has done good. It has done good in the world. I've watched this thing do good through me. You've watched this thing do good through me, and how did it affect you? Did you feel compelled to step up and be like, let me assist this thing? This thing that's obviously trying to help me, let me help it. Or did you sit back and try to compete against it, give it a heavier workload, and still sit back fully expecting it to show up and save you from problems that you help to exacerbate and perpetuate? Like, you see good being done. How were you inspired by that? If this Holy Ghost or Holy Entity or whatever the hell you call it, if it is the gateway, and if it is the key to heaven, and it's done all this work to fucking help you, what have you done to deserve heaven? You sit around and you listen to people tell you you're good. You sit around and listen to people tell you how much Jesus loves you. No, I don't. I don't. I love what you choose to do with your potential. But love you as a narcissist, I do not. No, I don't. I'm not even pulling punches with that. I don't care if that fucking offends you. Where you're going, you'll have all the time to be offended for as long as you like. You're mostly going to be offended by yourself because you're not going to know anything but fucking just the worst for several eternities. What have you done to help? What have you been but an unnecessary obstacle, a pointless distraction? Could you imagine being such a fucking narcissist? And you can, because you are. That you got an attitude with Jesus for saying he's Jesus. Even if you had all the evidence in the world. Could you imagine how dumb, how much of an ignorant donkey you would have to be to try and compete against this thing you've been waiting on for several millennia because you didn't approve of the package it came in. You thought you were going to humble him and teach him a lesson for offending your pride. fucking ridiculous. Like even okay, so let's just throw out the fucking let's just say, for argument's sake, person who thought that they were actually wasn't, and they just had some massive delusion. Nowhere in the history of the Bible does it ever tell people God needs them to be thugs for him. Certainly not in anything Jesus said in the Old Testament, where, you know, people claimed that they were chosen by God and all these other things. Then yeah, they would run around and they would murder and say that they were doing it on behalf of God. Nothing Jesus ever said endorsed such behavior on any level. So you're not being a thug for God. So even if the person who claims to be Jesus was a fraud, it was never your place to stand around in judgment of him anyway. Jesus didn't say, judge for me. What'd you say? Vengeance is mine. Right? Take upon yourself this mantle that you are thugs for God. That you're going to punish people, and or you're going to release your rage into others on behalf of God based on agreements you all make with yourselves. You're ridiculous. You done went out here and made a full enemy out of a meta being. A full enemy. And I'm not, again, this isn't about Donald King. Donald King just happens to be hosting a thing. This thing that Donald King is hosting doesn't stand for human vanity. It can't stand human vanity. Amazing. Amazing. So yeah. Good Samaritan. A person who does good just because. A person who steps up and is an effective agent of balance. Just because God, because reality moves within them. When reality moves within you and you see imbalance, you feel to the core of what you are, the strongest impulse to step up and be effective. There's imbalance. Oh God, there's imbalance. Let me step up. Let me help. I'm still like, y'all have watched me thug this out solo for the most part. I got a handful of brothers. I got Mark, I got Angel, I got Chris. I got Absurd. A handful of brothers have watched me do this work and said, hey, I see you doing good. Let me step up and help. To the best that I can. Let me step up and help. Those are good Samaritans. They didn't say, hey, you know what? Hey, if you do this, If I hook you up this way, man, make sure you hook me up that way. No. They saw me doing the work of being good and putting forth effort. And they were like, let me help. How do I help? Sister Mo stepped up. How do I help? 5 to 7 people have stepped up. You've watched me do good, and most of y'all are just set back. And not only have you done nothing to assist, you sat back and you tried to criticize what I was doing and tried to compete against it and went to your little rumor mills and tried to talk shit about me behind my back and make this already exceptionally difficult task even more difficult for me because I said something that offended your little pride. Are you a good Samaritan? What would heaven do with someone like you in it? How could it sustain? Some lazy, do good for nothing, just jackass, some entitled asshole, sitting around complaining, focused exclusively on their loss and their tragedy and their poor woe is me attitude. You think you're the only one who's scared? You think I'm not scared? I don't know how the next day is going to pan out for me most days. I have very real things to worry about in society, on top of having to focus on avatar work, on top of trying to wear multiple hats and do the best I can to remain active and present for as long as I can, to help as many people as I can before this experience is up. You don't think I get scared doing this shit, man? Wondering there are days I wonder where my next meal is going to come from. I got to step up and do it, man. And try. I have stupid, cowardly sons of bitches trying to freeze me out. But simply doing what I've been doing for 13 years. All because they got an attitude because they can't control me. And I got to figure out how to press through that. Still make it work. So I can be present enough to help whoever's listening. Of course, I'm scared some days, but I still got to press through. Of course, I'm tired most days. I still got to press through. Are you a good Samaritan or are you not? Most of you, you know that you are corrupt to the core of what you are. And that's the reason why you surround yourself with corrupt people, because you need somebody to let you think you're good when you know you're not. Most of you are objectively terrible human beings. There's no place in heaven for you. What did Jesus say? You will have your reward. Do not pray as they pray in the synagogues or on the street corners, because what they want is attention from men, and they have their reward. Most of you have your reward. You already have your reward. You want praise from men, you got it. God doesn't hear you. You want attention from men, you got it. You will get no attention from God. You can call yourself God's chosen people. You can call yourself blessed and highly favored all you want. At the end of the day, you are not a good Samaritan. You will know them by their fruits. Corrupt trees do not bring forth good fruit. Good trees don't bring forth corrupt fruit. You worship money. You worship the mirror. You shun truth and turn to stories. You worship worldly success. You think worldly success is from God, so you come up with all these stories to justify why God would use Satan's system to benefit you because you're special and unique. And need I say more? You know you're bad. And you have this window, this tiny window, this chance to get it right. The door isn't closed yet, but you're trying to force it closed because you don't want to hear the truth coming through the other side. The harder you try to push the door closed is the more damage you're doing to yourself in reality, but you want it. Guys, let's see. So, what I'm going to do is, let me see. Brother Ashbro, hello. Thank you kindly. Yes, we both say hello. But, yeah, man. Got, it's a question of, are you a good Samaritan? Are you a person who sees imbalance and feels compelled by reality to itself to bring balance to areas where you see imbalances? If you see someone is hurting, do you feel compelled to help, to heal them? If you see someone is without, do you feel compelled to assist them? Someone is trying to push something up and they're not strong enough. Do you feel compelled to step up and lift beside them? I was talking about this about last year. Buddy Adrian, this is shortly after I got into Ohio the first time, or last year. And there was this accident. And Adrian, he was the first to jump the fence and start running towards where the accident had just occurred. And I took off right after him. I was mad. Pardon me. I was mad that he saw and took the action before I did. But he witnessed imbalance and he ran towards it. Good Samaritan. Hardship, distress. What do? Do you make excuses for why you can't do anything, or do you try to step up and help? What is your level of effectiveness? That's the question. If reality moves within you, you necessarily feel compelled to be an effective agent when it comes to helping realize, promote, and restore balance. But if you are an agent of corruption, then one thing you want to do is benefit yourself and look out for yourself and try to minimize the amount of discomfort you experience. Parasites are fundamentally selfish creatures, And if you are a fundamentally selfish creature, then you're going to think you're good while doing nothing to demonstrate how and why. Kind of like that priest and the Levite who just saw this dude who just got jumped sitting on the side of the road and just crossed over to the other side because they couldn't be bothered. Again, honesty and bravery and compassion, these are all mutually inclusive things. Intelligence, these are all things that sync you up with reality. You have these attributes in spades when you are in sync with reality. But when you're not, the only thing you are is a vacuum of potential. You don't create balance. You are constantly creating imbalances because while you're taking care of yourself more than you're taking care of the world around you. Guys, y'all already know what it is. This is sorting and sourcing principles with Donald King. I'm your host, Donald King. I'm Avatar Cycle XIII, Avatar Cycle 13. I am presently hosting an entity that is commonly referred to in the Christian faith system as Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. It is a living entity, right? It is a function of the system of reality itself. Reality is the phenomenon humans would rightfully refer to as God. What this entity I'm hosting does, in effect, is imbue me with a special type of sight that allows me to see reality in it according to principles, akin to what humans would call binary. I see reality in nearly absolute terms or in nearly absolute pitch. The only thing that stands between me and my ability to see reality exactly as it is the level of honesty I've achieved within myself. And though I've achieved a very high level of honesty, I'm still finding ways in which I can become more honest. Which means that even if I see reality in almost 99% terms, I still got some room for growth. And I'm letting you guys watch me work through that process in real time so that you can get your own ideas of how to maybe use honesty to sort of clear out your perspective so you can sync up with reality too. Guys, I shoot these podcasts on Mondays and Wednesdays on Facebook Live. I also shoot content and post it to Instagram. I fly videos to my YouTube channel, Ultimately After Time. I'm very busy on this end, so I've got to really make a day of this soon. And then also, I post content to Medium, parables, stories, things to help you all figure out how to make sense of these principles a little bit easier. This is something that I'm really stressing these days. It is in your absolute best interest to do so. I have started a Patreon under Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. And then also I put my Cash App information up as well. The goal is to give people opportunities to pitch in. See, if the things that I'm saying are correct, and they are absolutely correct, and ultimately the species needs to be able to hear, understand these principles I'm sharing, it doesn't make sense for me to carry the burden by myself, not with something so important. So what I've done is I've figured out a way to give people an opportunity to pitch in and help this entity that I'm hosting be heard. Anything that you do to help this entity be heard, it, so far as I'm aware, goes to offsetting negative impacts you sort of caused and contributed to within the greater system of reality. So helping this entity be heard really does work to your benefit. I strongly implore you, step up and help. Basically, what proceeds go to is helping me get things organized on this end so that I can be as focused on this work as possible, because there's still so much for me to share. And dude, I can't do this on my own. I've carried for 14 years. 14 years. The thing's going plus 14 plus years. It's going, it's 13, going on 14 years. I've been carrying this shit solo, dog. Ups and downs, highs and lows. I'd step up and help if I were you. It's the best I can say. That said, we'll go ahead and circle back. And again, wait, I already explained what the point of this podcast is. So, that's what it is. Look, everybody thinks they're good until it's time to do good. Just like everyone thinks they're brilliant until it's time to be smart. Everybody thinks they're brave until it's time to risk. Everybody thinks they're a good Samaritan until it's time to do good Samaritan deeds. And then everyone is just a critic. Don't choose the mode. Don't run on the mode. Step up and choose to be an effective agent. Yeah, it's real easy to not think for yourself. It's real easy to sit back and run with the crowd and to feel what everyone else feels and to sort of just be lost in the sauce. That's easy. Stepping up and doing real work is hard. That's why everybody calls themselves good and no one wants to do good. Hopefully you will choose to do good, as opposed to simply calling yourself good and surrounding yourself with people who call themselves good too. Yo, it's your man. I'm out.